Hello, I'm Faye Kwan and you're watching It's About Youth, where we're speaking to Malaysia's younger generation on what matters to them. Now, with the rise of social media platforms, content creation has become one of the world's fastest growing industries, one that is largely dominated by the youth. In fact, the creator economy is estimated to cost around 100 billion US dollars. And while some 50 million people identify themselves as creators, only 2 million are full-time professionals. Our guest today is a Malaysian content creator and internet personality with over 20 million followers on Instagram. Welcome, Siu Pui, or better known as Miss Pui, to the show.
Hi everyone, I'm Miss Pui.
Okay, so I like to just start off this interview with going back to the beginning of your career. You started very early on in your teens and you decided very early on to venture into this field, to take control of your image and to take control of the things that you post online. So firstly, how do you see yourself in the current social media content creator landscape?
I think it's definitely multi-dimensional, and then there's many things that we have been rolling out, different projects and different scenes that we are in. So it's a very vibrant and diversified career that I'm in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what would you like to be referred to as, Miss Pui?
I think there's a lot. Actually, in my scenario, it was actually depicted as an internet personality, which is actually not very new anymore in, let's say, the States, because there's actually a lot of iconic personalities or like names, big names all over the place that also do different projects at one time. And they managed to make it into a brand or a name. So this is what I've been trying to do in Malaysia actually.
So not just content creation on one platform, but really diversifying your career, right?
Yes.
And speaking of that, you've recently ventured into a music career as a DJ. In some of your earlier interviews, you mentioned that this move was to sort of defy what is expected of other female content creators, such as yourself. Could you tell me a little bit more about this? What exactly is expected of female content creators?
I think over the years in Malaysia landscape is that we have never really have a person that managed to really put a lot of different ingredients into a icon name. Means that if it's really common also as well, if you are a iconic blogger or something, you will be sticking to fashions and makeup. And it's quite hard to jump to another thing or be in a different scene, different attire, different look, different vibes. So what I'm trying to do is that to prove that actually female can be in a different multiverse dimensional look and also somewhat be in the same respectable spot to be in. Yeah.
And in that sense, do you think there are any obstacles when it comes for women to be empowered online and to diversify their brand?
I think there's a lot. Okay, first of all, you need to see what type of year you are in, means that what kind of trend it is in actually for your audience, what type of audience thinks that they like, what do they like and what do they really accept, and then to how far to the extent are they willing to compromise to changes of the era and so on. So there are many iconic celebrities or classical models, runway models from all over the times, and then some manage to penetrate through, some would be known better in a different era, many years later. So it's very different depending on time zone. Second would be the environment that you are in, because some of them they are maybe in Western countries, so maybe it's different for them. And then for us, we are in Asian areas, so it's very different for us because our culture is different as well. So it's very subjectable.
Different social norms, can I say that, when it comes to gender inequality
as
as
and
well?
also areas that you're living in, cities and all that.
Okay, so then throughout your time as a content creator, from your teens till now and all the platforms that you've been on, I think people tend to have an opinion on the way you earn a living. What do you have to say about this? How do you address criticisms?
I think I've tried many different jobs, ranging from like part-time barista and then to flyer girls that give up flyers, and then car show models, and then travel C agent. So a lot of that. I even sell like data package or like Wi-Fi modem once in my life. So yeah, there's actually a lot of different career lines that I was in.
And how about content creation itself?
Content creation, I think I was heavily involved in it when I was 18 to maybe 19 or 20. Those were the times that I was really heavily involved. So it means that I'll be doing a lot of street interviews, hosting jobs, posting jobs. It means fully on social media online.
Yeah. And those kind of content has really blown up, especially in recent years, right? So where then do you think content creation is headed towards? Do you think we'll be seeing more AI, perhaps, more interactive videos?
In this recent year on social media alone, definitely it has changed from static to more motion content.
Okay.
Means anything has to do with motions like podcasts, videos, reels, those are very, very popular nowadays. And you can see static contents are kind of not that popular compared to back in the days where we have that lookbook.
Yeah,
Lookbook was actually a very big thing back in the
was.
days. And then like Instagram pictures, outfits. So it's a very different era because people, what they like nowadays is different. On social media alone is it, but if you're talking about trends, last time used to be very extravagant, means like Bratz doll, means the more is nicer, or like when it's really celebrity runway kind of look, like when you go out you're going out for modeling, but right now it's very minimalistic instead. So
Very
it's
realistic, right?
Yeah.
People like to see that side of you. Then would you say that this changing trend towards more motion has affected your personal brand and the way that you create content yourself?
I think there's beauty as long as you're willing to compromise, to kind of like depict into different areas and timeline you're in.
To adapt,
So,
right?
yes. So for in case that content creators right now, they do have more space to be themselves in a way that they do not really need to mask themselves as much in terms of beautifying their face, their look. It could look a little bit rugged sometimes, but a more realistic way. So this is what people like. Compared to last time when you are in a video, you're doing some reviews, you have to be very cute, glammed up with your hair and makeup and everything. So I think there's beauty in it as long as you're willing to realize and do your research that, okay, the market has changed and what can we do around it. Yeah.
And for those who aren't so familiar with the landscape, what would you say is the biggest misconception when it comes to content creation?
I think for people that's in the industry is that they would assume a certain trend would stay for a very long time, but in truth it's not.
Yeah.
And then for people that's not in the industry and wish to came in or whatever, is that there's no right formula to do it. So, and there's also no 100% success rate in it. So you have to really do your market research rather than following what's in the trend.
And to have a game plan, right? It sounds that it's not as simple as just recording a video and uploading it. There's a lot that goes
actually,
behind
especially
it.
in these recent years, it is super hard for content creators to actually grow. For new content creators that enter the scene, it is good because the algorithm has changed. So if your one video or two video blew up, of course it will get you rich really quick. But it is not consistent because your profile is not being pushed, it's the content of that video. So it's hard for people that wish to grow their contents or their profile as a newcomer. But if you wish to put out a word out there that you are a newcomer, it worked well for you.
Right, but even if there's just that one viral video, it doesn't necessarily translate into your whole brand, in growing your whole brand, right?
The algorithm has changed and then the AI has changed as well as the trend has changed, the audience has changed. So it is definitely a little bit tougher compared to 3 to 4 years later.
So personally, do you find any difficulties with that?
I think you just have to change your equation.
Okay.
I think in any content creators, we almost have headache when it comes to this kind of stage. This is where you have to, because there's no right game plan, there's no right formula, there's no out there equation. You kind of have a very awkward few months stage that you're not sure what are you doing exactly. And you kind of have to get back what people like, what people don't like. It's like a few good months of market research again.
And it's not just the algorithm, there's also community guidelines that come into play as well, right?
Guidelines and then which video works, which video doesn't work, which video would be more engaging. So it's definitely a very awkward few months because it's like people could actually remember you but they do not see you in most of the algorithms because it's not trending.
And it's also difficult to continue to stay relevant and on people's feeds, right?
So it's quite an awkward stage in that stage.
Well, so moving on then to other parts of your career, you've ventured into your own skincare, your own makeup line. what would you say, what does it take for a young entrepreneur like yourself to build a business in today's age?
This is a very, very tricky situation for any person that wish to invest in any certain business. You have to ask yourself, do you actually have time to build a brand? I mean, a business or a brand or a product, we could say.
Yep.
Or do you have time to build your brand? Your brand could mean like a team entity, or it could be like something that you're selling service, or a person or a production team or something like that. Because it couldn't be two in one. You can also never have time for two in one. If you have time to stay up all nights for meetings and then to product meetings, product engagement, and then all that, all the product catalogs, color catalogs, it will use up most of your time. And then you wouldn't able to build your brand. So if you want that, you can also go for product line businesses, which is skincare, cosmetics, clothing, shoes, apparel, those on.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about, okay, you might not have the time, but you are able to build servicing line business, which very good in it. Maybe you have the resource in it. Maybe you already have a base marketing or foundation of audience in it. Then I would recommend them going to service businesses entrepreneurship. Meaning it could be restaurants, it could be bars, because you can have head chef and waiters to be there on ground for you. So it'll be very different. You can franchise it, those are very different. Yeah.
And when it comes to young entrepreneurs that are just starting out, what would you say are some of the challenges for young entrepreneurs today?
Financial capital is definitely one of the biggest factor we are talking about. It's because if you do not have enough funds, try not to go at your limited scale. Means that you push around the borders just because you hope that it will blow up and sell out in minutes or in days.
There's always that hope here.
Yeah, it's super, super risky. And there are always more years and more months and more time to develop a second business, a third business, a fourth business when you have more funds. So try to stay around the capital funds that you have rather than getting a loan or maybe borrowing funds from someone. So I think it's very risky.
And when you speak about lack of funds or other issues that you may have when it comes to entrepreneurship, is there anything that you think can be done, whether it's the government, to help young entrepreneurs such as yourself?
I think there are many programs that these kind of big headquarters, they will do for talented people and then they will fund maybe their studies or like invest in their business. It's actually very popular as well in the States. Like new start business to buy it. So I think you can try for that, but of course you need to have a proper proposal. Or I would just say stay out from loan, because when you start a business, it's actually a liability, it's not an asset. So if you do not have an asset and you still have more loans, I don't think it's a good way. And I would probably say go for fundings. Fundings is good.
It's always about the money at the start, right?
At the start, you need to have money. After that, you need to scout for staff. Office or no office, I think it's a very feasible thing. Because it's an early age, you do not really need an office yet. Your house could be a warehouse, I mean temporarily. So you need staff. And again, you probably need a very good marketing person, because that is very important. And then you probably need one admin first, and that's enough. Do not need to go for full scale 20, 30 staff first.
I'd like to highlight what you said, that marketing is very important, especially digital marketing now, right? As someone with millions of followers on several platforms, not just Instagram, also YouTube and TikTok, you've been able to leverage off that to promote your business and also your personal brand. So what would you say is the importance for youth to make use of digital tools or digital platforms when it comes to promoting their own businesses?
I think first of all, your content needs to look very appealing, because there's a lot of brand nowadays. In many different sectors or many different product industry. Actually, most of the industry are already quite segregated, like saturated.
Yeah, it's very competitive.
If you want to stand out from brands that's been there for years, for months, for decades, you definitely need to have some very unique selling point to it. And unique selling point is not like, oh, it's vegan free, it's fragrance free, it's paraben free. A lot of brands also have that. So it needs to make that your product needs to have something that stands out from the rest.
And personally, when you launch your own products, what would you say were the unique selling points?
I think that time I was trying to do like a cute high school icon kind of like fashion brand. Yeah, I was quite young at that point.
Okay. Well, the cute part was your makeup or your skincare or both?
I think both, definitely both.
Okay. And what have you learned from it personally?
In my very personal opinion, I have a very busy schedule.
Yeah.
So if I could probably do it another way around, I would invest in multiple mid or high price point restaurants instead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Restaurant business.
Yeah.
Is that something you would look into then in
Yeah,
the future?
probably like concept restaurants. I think that is actually, in my case, it would be more stable. Yeah.
And it's definitely something for people to look forward to as well. It's an experience. And you've been able to venture, not restaurant business yet, but you've been able to venture into many different industries.
Yeah.
You've been able to diversify your career very successfully. So what would you say is your ultimate goal out of all this?
I think what it meant for me at that point is I would wish to try at which part that is like the best suited for me in my life, or what am I destined myself to. So I was kind of like trying and error, because for me, I was quite young and I still have the tokens if I were to ever fail in anyone. So I could still, go and try for it. But so yeah, I think I kind of find a very comfort spot for me to be in, yeah.
And what's that comfort spot right now for you?
I think it's definitely moving towards, in these recent years, I think most people will start to see more of it, is they'll be moving forward, building myself as a brand. And there are things that comes along with it. Yeah.
And when it comes to building your brand, you've also ventured into the education sector. You've recently launched a scholarship fund that's worth $1 million US, so that's around 4.3 million ringgit, to help underprivileged students further their education. Can you bring us through this? What sort of motivated you to introduce this initiative?
So my mom is a very devoted Buddhist, so I was at home with her, and then in primary school she would tell me all these teachings and all. So since very young age I would develop a spirit of helping others. And when I was like 12 I did not know much, so I was like thinking, okay, one day I will have a charity program, I will help children to build schools, and I will build electricity and water. But right now I grew up, I'm like, this dream is a bit too big. You need more years to it. So it was a very memorable moment for me that I get to launch this scholarship funds with EduCapital, because they've been helping a lot of children from all around the world. And when we spoke to them months ago, they're interested to reach to some of the unprivileged students in Asia basically. And then of course we like each other vision, and that's how we got to it.
Well, building infrastructure, improving school infrastructure is definitely
very far away.
It's not impossible though. It's not impossible.
Yeah.
And it's a very good initiative that you have right now, because I understand this scholarship will be granted to students from any field of study of their choice. It's also open internationally, including to students in Malaysia. What's the criteria for eligible applicants, and what do you look for in a successful candidate for your scholarship?
So there are 3 different categories actually. So one, they will be getting just grants basically. And then the second category would be getting full scholarship. The third one would be you will get full scholarship, and after you graduate, we will give you a startup funds for your business, new startup business. So there are 3 categories, and then how we would analyze which student need which category more, of course, is by financial background, family background, and areas do they live in. Because there are many different countries have many different laws, armory laws, and so on. So if a student is in an area that's prone to higher risk, it will be highly prioritized first.
I see. And I'd like to go back to that startup fund that you said. It's very interesting. Could you tell us a bit more about that? What's the importance of instilling these kind of entrepreneurship values so early on?
So first of all, of course, you need to get A grade throughout the semesters all the way, and then if you're a high scorer, we will give that to you. So I think it's actually not as big amount as it is. It's only 5 figures in dollars, but it's good to sustain, and also for good maybe 6 to 8 months. In 6 to 8 months, I think it's actually enough to break even, or even to maybe get a brand going and starting out and earning good amounts, little amounts every month. So actually it can kind of instill entrepreneurship in young spirit. And it's very important for them to try things out. So it's actually something good to do.
And so you're providing that opportunity for them to try. This, you said 6 to 8 months, that's more of a short-term solution then. So is there any other long-term solutions that you'd like to see being provided to underprivileged students who wish to venture into entrepreneurship, or is there any long-term solutions that you yourself would like to provide, if given the chance?
I think without any experience or knowledge or any intuition grow within a person before starting a business, one cannot really provide much except theory or funds or just theoretical situations. Because it's really instinct growing situations. So that person need to have a certain amount of experience first before really embarking on a different journey. Yeah.
And you've had your own share of experiences. So what do you have to say about staying grounded and level-headed when it comes to the success that you've enjoyed throughout your career?
I think it's important for a person to stay logical and realistic most of the time.
Of course.
So if you're humble, I think two things come with it. One is, of course, people are more willing to help you out, to willing to work together. Second is that you get to learn more new things. And another thing why being humble or grounded is good is that most of the time you need to be very logical thinking. So in scenes that you are growing in a fast pace, there will be more people that's giving you not really constructive criticism.
Yeah.
So you need to have the ability to kind of like separate it out. Which one is it for you to listen and which one is it for you not to listen? So it's quite important to stay clear-minded most of the time.
And lastly, do you have any advice for any aspiring content creators?
I think give it a try. Like just give everything a try. I
That's
understand
the
like
message here,
yeah,
right?
I understand trends are different, but it's always different trends every single year. Everything is different all the time. So if you do not try, you wouldn't know what worked and what would not work. So you have to give everything a try.
Well, it's always about that trial and error. Well, thank you so much, Puyi, for
Thank
joining me on this show. It's been a pleasure. You've been watching It's About Youth with me, Fei Kwan. Thank you and see you next time.